nervous and excitement, we tell them to transform nervousness into excitement because they're the same feeling in your body, your stomach, the same feeling when you're excited about the game.
Hello, and welcome to the Kick It with Katie podcast. Hey team, it's Katie here, and today I have Valentino Di Lorenzo, and he is going to be sharing with us his soccer journey and how it has brought him into the job that he does today. So welcome, Valentino.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for having me. My name is Valentino, and I played soccer since I was 5 years old, and I grew up in Italy. So it's been, I'm 36 now, so it's been, I've been playing for many years. And growing up, I was playing in fear. I was afraid to make mistakes. And then I eventually had a mentor that taught me how, to believe in myself and to that I could have achieved so much more, right? Just by believing in myself and do some things that are required to become more confident. And I ended up playing semi-professionally in Italy. I played for a youth team of Reggiana. In Italy, I did some trial with Inter Milan, Parma. And then I had a serious injury. So I tore my ACL, and that kind of gave me a setback. But I still played in many regional teams in Italy and also in the US in the UPSL. So. Yeah, that's
And how old were you when you got injured?
18. I was 18. Yeah.
18. So you were still able to play after that into your 20s, maybe?
Yeah. So I was actually about to play to go in the professional teams, but I had to stop for a year, and then I had some complications, so it took me basically 2 years to get back. To the game shape that I was at the time. And, when you're 17, 18 years old, if you don't have a contract signed and you waste 2 years, it's very tough to get back. And so.
Did you have any people that were helping you kind of get over that? I know there's a lot more resources now when players get injured, but back when you got injured, were there any coaches or mentors or people that were trying to help you rehabilitate? I know since you didn't have like a contract or anything, but was there anybody that was trying to help you specifically get over that? Or was it kind of more of a you did it on your own type of a thing?
Yeah, of course, teammates, friends, family, they're there to support you and everything. But, it's one of those where you say things like, why me? Why this is happening to me? And all that, and you start to become negative and get in your own head. So I kind of learn how to become tougher, and a lot of friends and family helped me a lot.
That's good. And since you're from Italy, did you move around a lot when you started playing for these different teams, or was it not a lot of moving, or how did that work out because you're in the United States now, correct?
Yes. So I moved because of a job that I had. So it wasn't related to coaching, but then I started coaching in the US. It was 11 years ago. That's how I got into coaching. And I kept playing also in the UPSL. So what is the fourth division in the US? So pretty competitive. I had a passion for coaching and wanted also to eventually coach the mindset, because that's what makes the good player becoming great players, and great players becoming professional.
And how long have you been doing the growth mindset stuff that you've been doing with athletes?
So when I started coaching, after a few years, I had a mentor that basically taught me, I was doing a lot of private sessions on the field, one-on-one, but then he said, why don't you implement some mindset, since you're really big on mindset, and you implement that on the sessions. And especially after COVID, I started to implement the one-on-one session on the field, and then 15-20 minutes on Zoom where we will go over growth mindset, overcoming mistakes and failures. And I was seeing that, so it was right after COVID. I was seeing that the best results were the players that I was doing the mindset with, really transformation, like players that would not overcome a mistake, shutting down, and completely be upset with themselves for like the whole week, not only for
Mm-hmm.
the game. And so I started implementing that, and then 2 years ago I started this program, and I kind of went full in. I stopped doing private sessions, and I'm basically focusing on just the mindset. And we now, if we determine that we can help, we can get results within 90 days from the start.
Nice. And you do a lot of it like online, like over Zoom and stuff like that. So because you're on the East Coast, correct?
Miami, yes.
Yeah, you're in Florida. So you deal with players, you essentially that could be all over the United States or all over the world. Technically, you're not really limiting your scope of players. Is there anything specific that you can? We don't want to delve too deep into what you do, like sessions specifically, but what is? Because you say that you usually can do it within like 90 days, correct?
Yes.
Where you start to see some sort of transformation. So, is it like a weekly thing? Is it a daily thing? And what can somebody typically expect out of like sessions, or if they're interested in your services type of a thing?
Hmm. So yeah, we work with a lot of players in from California, Arizona, so all over the U.S. And we just hopefully somebody's gonna join from Australia. I'm talking to a guy from Australia, so pretty cool um,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to reach that. But yeah, so basically we tell them that they can change. So we tell them that there's two types of mindset, so the growth and the fixed mindset. And if you have some characteristic of a fixed mindset, your brain can change. Once they know that, they know that they can change. And in the first lesson specifically, we ask them what they need help with, and three things that they need help with. And usually is, I'm afraid to make mistakes, I'm playing in fear, I'm a perfectionist, or I'm nervous before games. So there are common themes that we know, and that we can help for sure. But we also ask a really commitment from the parents and from the player, because we work like just like a fitness coaching program. So if they're not
Mm-hmm.
accountable, they don't do the work, they're not going to see the results. So we only guarantee results if they do everything that we ask. And we have an app where we can track the progress. So it's basically weekly coaching calls on Zoom, and then during the week, every day they have to show me that they do certain things. So we require like 10 to 15 minutes of work every single day.
That's great because I know before I started recording, I had mentioned, I've seen players that, when they beat themselves up over a mistake, whether it was in a game or sometimes even in a practice, they just kind of get it themselves, or if like a teammate's kind of nagging them over something that maybe they could have passed instead of shooting, or whatever it could be. It's really important, especially I feel like now there's more of an expectation on players, whether it's coming from parents or coaches or just the culture as a whole. So sometimes you feel like there is the pressure, which at least myself, I try not to put pressure on the players as much as possible. Obviously, we want to see good results and see them progressing, but we also don't want to add any extra pressure to them, because when you feel that extra pressure, sometimes you crack, which is why we have people like you that want to help people under that pressure and being able to process it and work through it. Because I've seen players in games where maybe it's at like a state tournament or a regional tournament, and the player is a leading figure up until the final game, and then they just, they're in the championship game and then they freeze up, and you go, where did they go? Why do they always disappear in this moment? And maybe it's something that they need to work through with someone like you, where maybe they feel that added pressure because they feel like it's all riding on their shoulders, and so they freeze up and they have that fear of disappointing their team or their coach or themselves or their parent or everyone. And you can help them work through that, because at least me as a coach, and my husband is also a coach, and so we try not to put that additional pressure on them. I know that teams have sent out emails before they go to a tournament and they're like, don't put any additional pressure on the players, like there's no reason to do that type of a thing. And so hopefully think programs like this can definitely help players work through that and their fears, because I know, like you said, there are some who are major perfectionists, and so when they can't perform on the field for whatever, obviously they're going to go and beat themselves up about it, where some people are perfectionists as far as how they keep things in order and stuff, and so they want to keep their soccer in order. So I know that you have an Instagram, so is there other places that do you have a website that people can find you on if they want to look more into your program?
Yes, it's www.dilorenzosoccermindset.com. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have a YouTube channel also that I'm trying to grow as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can definitely put the links in the show notes for that. So with your program, do you, because I know that you said that you've been into like other coaching, so do you have teams that you coach, or are you just focusing specifically on the mindset stuff now?
No, for now, I just do the mindset. I was coaching last year at Juventus Academy, but right now I just do this program full time. So.
And are you guys looking to affiliate with any clubs or anything like that? Or is it just kind of open to maybe whatever offers might be out there if people want to affiliate with you guys?
Yeah, we were talking about with some clubs to do some workshops, even online workshop. I did it with Barca Academy. I did a workshop with them, and with one team specifically. So yeah, I'm looking to spread the message, and if we can obviously one on one, I can only work with so many people every month. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely if I can reach more people, all the clubs and everything, I would love to keep growing that aspect.
That's important stuff, especially for players of today, like I said, because there's always so many pressures that some players feel. I know it might be something that people want to try and do so that they don't maybe get the burnout, because I know some players, if they keep beating themselves up over and over and over again because they feel like there's that added pressure or there's that fear of something, and they just end up quitting instead of being able to work through it. So if they feel like they're kind of getting into that burnout stage, or maybe this could be a good resource to help players get over that so they don't end up in that stage, if that's possibly something that they need. So back to your personal soccer career, do you think that you would have used your service as a youth player?
Yes, I mean, definitely what I learn in maybe 5, 7, or 10 years, I teach them in 90 days. So I definitely wish I had a program like this. Would definitely helped.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely something that people I mean, now that the sport is growing, there's so many different aspects of avenues that people are finding that, yeah, we need that support in the area. It's just like having a nutritionist, or the
Uh,
the physical people. I'm
yes,
trying to think of what they're called. The athletic
yeah,
trainers. Oh my goodness, can't even think of the right word. Anyway, so I mean, it's just as important in those areas. And I've said it before, to make sure that your mind is there, because if your mind isn't melding with your body, obviously you're not going to perform at your peak levels. So it's always good to make sure that if you feel like there is a crack or a breakdown or any way, that you make sure that you try and work through that. And so this is definitely a good resource. Do you have any, so just back to soccer advice, just general soccer advice. When you were a player, was there anything specific that you think helped elevate your game that you specifically did, like training on your own or anything? I know that some people are like juggling. Juggling is always a great go-to. But is there anything specific that you like to do on your own specifically?
yes. Yeah, juggling is good. What I like to do is play against the wall. So that was my favorite training because I can just focus on the ball control, controlling the air, and just kicking the ball against the wall and practicing like that. And
Hmm.
obviously also working on your weaknesses, because a lot of people they just want to do what's comfortable, what's fun, shooting the goal, right? But you want to focus on, is my left foot weak? Okay, let me work on my left foot. Or is my do I need to become a little faster? So work on speed, So creating a plan to work on your strength, but also on your weaknesses.
So you grew up I'm assuming you grew up in Italy. Did you spend like until your adult years? Is that where you grew up? Was in Italy?
Yes, yes. And back then we would go to the park. We would meet right after school. We just all went to the park and play soccer game all day. So it's different than now.
Yeah. Yeah. So how, I mean, it's obviously different. So how did the soccer culture to you when you came from Italy to the United States, was it a huge, was it a big shock to you that like soccer kind of wasn't that big of a thing here in the United States as it was over in Europe?
Yeah, and especially when I moved here, it was 10 or 11 years ago. Like there weren't so many leagues. Soccer wasn't so popular, so it was a big difference. And now it's becoming very, very popular as I see the progression over the years. And now it's super popular with Messi, all those players coming to from Europe to play here. But back then was a big shock. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you came over, like, I mean, I know that it's way more available now, but like, would you try and watch like I assume that you watched Italian league soccer or, I know it's way more accessible now because we watch different leagues and stuff on different apps or streaming services, but it was so much harder to like I always love listening to my husband talk about like when he even, in the 90s or early 2000s, he was trying to watch big games and it was almost impossible to be able to find the games that you wanted on TV, even satellite because they just weren't being broadcast.
Yeah, I was actually paying for an Italian satellite channel just to watch the Serie A because I'm a fan of Juventus. So yeah,
Mhm.
I was trying, finding creative ways to find the games they want to watch.
Definitely a lot different here. I mean, and it's great that the popularity has been growing, because
Yeah,
it is, I feel like, I mean, you obviously know that it's a lot bigger in other countries as far as the sport goes, because in America, we have American football and basketball and baseball, which some of those sports are starting to be bigger in other countries. Like I know when we went to the Real Madrid facility, they were talking about their basketball program, and I guess some of those clubs are starting basketball programs. Also, some of them in Spain or other countries. So that's always interesting to see because the NBA has so many foreign. They also have a ton of foreign players that play in their league. So it's interesting to see some of our sports getting spread across the globe as well. But
yeah,
I love seeing that soccer is becoming a bigger thing in the United States uh, now. And I've often wondered if just the availability of it has made it more popular because now you can watch almost any team that you want from wherever in the world on almost any streaming service, YouTube or Fubo or I don't know, even ESPN.
yeah.
So it's always really interesting to see how it's growing. So since oh my gosh, I'm gonna say it wrong. Juventus is your favorite. I'm assuming they're your favorite team
Yeah,
in
yes.
Italy. Who is one of your most favorite players, whether they played for that team or just any team? Do you have like a favorite player that you like to watch?
My favorite player was from Juventus was Del Piero, which is was 20 years captain of Juventus. Especially growing up, was my idol. I was watching every single game. Now they're not doing so well, but they're getting back. But my favorite player is Cristiano Ronaldo, even if
Yeah,
even if Messi's
and
here.
Even if Messi's in the United States.
Yeah.
And he's in your state.
Yes.
So, what position or positions did you primarily play when you played soccer?
So I played many positions, but it was center mid and also left back. Those are the two positions where I play the most.
What do you like most about those positions specifically? Is there anything specific that you like about those positions?
I mean, left back, I liked it because um, I prefer the center mid because I'm more of a type of person that moves the ball around and switches the field and all those things. But left
Mm-hmm.
back also I feel comfortable because I'm lefty, so that's a position that I liked, and I had to play left back as an emergency, especially in New York
Mm-hmm.
when we won the UPSL Eastern. I for 3 weeks I was playing center mid, and then for 3 weeks we had a guy that was injured, and we had to play also the final to win the UPSL in 2019. And as an emergency, as I was a lefty and I already played that role growing up, they put me
Mm-hmm.
there, so I kind of have a good memory of it.
Good to be able to. I mean, that's what a lot of people there. I always tell my players because I coach younger ages, younger girls. They're always like, I want to play forward. I want to play forward. And it's like, well, in this scenario, I only have two spots to play forward, and there's seven people that have to be on the field. So the odds of you playing forward are not great if everybody's raising their hand to play forward. And I've explained to some of my players, the advantages of playing different positions and moving around and learning how to play other spots. And so it's interesting to see, the dynamics of players that grasp that concept and the ones that don't grasp that concept, where they're like, no, I only want to be able to do this. Because I know other people have said it, you don't want to be pigeonholed into a position, you want to be able to move around. Obviously, as you get older, a lot of times you do play a specific position or different area of the field, but you still want to be able to know how to play a position in an emergency like that, where
Yeah.
somebody gets injured, and then you have to play that way. I know my husband's team, one of his teams right now, actually there's two teams, have suffered a ton of just random injuries. One of them is one of my son's teams, and it's like we've got like five players that are out on injuries, and it's absolutely insane. And so they have to travel to go to these different areas for the leagues that they're playing in, and they're just trying to band-aid a team together just to be able to travel and go play, having players play up because they need extra
Yeah.
players to be subs and things. So it's it's absolutely, I mean, it's been absolutely crazy just to like another kid just got injured like in the last 2 weeks or something, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is it because they're all growing and that's why they're all getting injured? And it's just weird injuries, freak injuries. One of them, it's a weird hip flexor thing. Another person that I had on the podcast early on, his name is Tanner Sands. He did the exact same thing anyway, it's same injury. It was like basically a non-contact injury. He kicked the ball and something in his hip just broke basically. And so
Wow.
anyway,
Yeah.
it's like the craziest thing. And I'm like, holy cow, we've known three players now that have done that
I've
over
suffered
like,
too. I've had that injury too. It was my back. It's called this psoas. It's like something in the hip flexor that is connected to your back. So yeah, I had that injury as well.
yeah, it's
It's
so
so
crazy
crazy.
just to hear. And
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of time. I mean, I was coaching a game where this is a different team, but I was coaching a game because my husband had another game at the same time, and so I ended up coaching the game, and a kid had a freak accident and he broke his leg. And I can't remember if I talked about this before on the podcast, but it was like absolutely insane. But that weekend, so that one kid broke his leg, and then like just before that, at another field where another one of our club teams was playing, the opponent, one of their players, I don't know if he broke his leg or broke his arm, but like I was just like, oh my gosh, what is happening? What's wrong with today? Everybody stop playing. Everybody keeps getting hurt. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy to hear that kind of thing. So speaking of injuries and back to what your growth mindset stuff, do you work with players that are injured as well? Like are those or is it more players that are actively in trainings that you work with, like practicing or playing?
It's a mix. Some they reached out because they just got back from the injury or they're getting back from the injury, so they need like mental to be mentally positive and get back from that. Learning that you know that's just a challenge. Something that they went through, and they're gonna get better. But most of the players are still playing. Also because we in with our program we require them to work with an app, so they need to do the work also, ball mastery, dribblings, and those things.
And I could see definitely like because I know when players get back from injury, they want to be at the level they were at prior to their injury, and it's definitely a process because you're not going to be at 100% as soon as you get back on there. It's a gradual process,
Yeah,
and I would assume mentally because you're cleared physically, but it's going to be a gradual process, especially if it's like a leg or that type of a thing where you haven't been able to actually
yeah.
touch a ball
I think if
with
you
that foot or what.
Yeah, I think if you stay off for like 6 months, you have to expect almost another 6 months to get back in shape because you lost all that time
Mm-hmm.
and gameplay. Yeah, I remember the beginning. Even if I went back on the field, I was, few months after maybe 4 or 5 months on the field, I was still feeling slower. I was still feeling like mentally not, going into the tackle. So it's just a mental, physical, everything together. So, but it's a process, like you said. So it takes a little time and
Mm-hmm.
effort, and not being discouraged because you're not playing like you were playing before. But you're gonna get over.
I remember, so I'm in Utah, so Real Salt Lake is the MLS club that is near us. And I remember when, I'm going to forget his name, but one of the major players, I think he was our captain at the time. He's actually, I think he's part of Inter Miami's academy right now,
Hmm.
coaching possibly. Javi Morales, there it is.
Oh,
I
okay.
remembered.
Yeah.
Anyway, he broke his leg in a game, and it took recovery, surgery, all the things to get him back going. And I remember when he came back and was playing before he got transferred. We could tell he was a little hesitant to go into certain challenges
Yep.
because there's that memory of getting hurt, and so you can definitely see it. So it's not just youth players that have to overcome those challenges. It's all levels of players. So just because you see a professional come back from an injury, don't think that it's not hard for them to come back from an injury, because it definitely is. And they may have more on the line for that, and so they might even have that added pressure to perform, especially after they come back from that injury. But do you have anything that you want to add? Any other advice that you have for youth players of today, or anything else that you want to talk about your mindset stuff that you do?
Yeah, I mean, whatever I want to say, whatever you are in your journey or in your development, if you're, you can always get better, and there's multiple ways where you can get better. One is to working hard, physical training and technical training, and keep working hard. But if you do everything, we work hard on the field, you work hard out the field in your own trainings, you eat well, but if you don't have the right mindset to play under pressure, it's going to be really tough. Especially like you said before, the players that play really well until the final, and then he has limiting beliefs. That player has limiting beliefs, saying, "I'm not the type of player that can perform well under pressure or in the finals." So his limiting beliefs are stopping him from being the top player also in the final, right? So your mind can
Mm-hmm.
stop you from doing things if you have limiting beliefs, right? If you're thinking, "I'm not fast enough to play in college," then you're not going to play in college because you're limiting yourself. You're going to limit yourself. You're not going to do the things that are required to play in college. So whatever you're saying to
Mm-hmm.
yourself, just you know that you can improve. If you're not fast enough, you can improve. If you're not confident, you can become more confident. If you're playing in
Hmm.
fear, you know you can stop and play and taking more risk and avoid playing in fear. So there's always you can always get better, and you're not stuck where you are right now.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. And I know one of the things that you had mentioned earlier about, being nervous or nervousness. And one of the things that I remember, and I don't remember who told me this, but being nervous means that you care. And so obviously, if you're nervous about playing, it means that you care about the outcome and what's going to happen on the field. But it's where you let those nerves overtake you and you're unable to perform. And so that's obviously something that you can help players work through.
Yeah.
But for those players that maybe are listening, when you do feel that nervousness, a lot of people feel nervous before they do something. And then once they go out and they do it, a lot of, sometimes you might think, man, I wonder if professional players get nervous before games. I'm sure that they do, but they've
Yeah.
mastered the art of being able to work through the nervousness and being able to perform. So that's something that you have to work through. And your program would be something great to be able to help them work through that. Because I know, I mean, not just with sports, but with dance or whatever it was. I mean, even if you have like a performance at school and you're having to do some choir thing or something in front of your class, the nervousness that you might feel, if you've done a program like this, it might help you overcome that in other aspects of your life. So definitely
So
something for people to check out.
yeah, so nervous and excitement. We tell them to transform nervousness into excitement because they're the same feeling in your body. Your stomach, the same feeling when you're excited about the game or when
Hmm.
you're nervous about the game is the same exact feeling. But you're mentally, when you're nervous, you're playing in fear already because you're why are you in fear? Because you're afraid of the unknown, and the unknown most of the time
Hmm.
is since our mind tend to be negative is I'm gonna step on the field, we're gonna lose, we're gonna make mistakes, the coach is gonna yell at me, they're gonna put me on the bench, like all this negative scenario. So what they're doing is they're visualizing in their mind everything that could go wrong, and that's why they become nervous. So we tell them to be excited about the game. Don't worry about making mistakes. Just go and play and have fun. And if you make mistakes, you'll eventually make mistakes because Messi makes mistakes, and you're not better than Messi.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
so just a mental switch and visualize yourself going on the field and performing every play like you should, and visualize yourself making mistakes and how quickly you're going to overcome that mistake. Like everything in your mind, because you're already visualizing, but you're visualizing a negative scenario. So you want to visualize a positive scenario.
Yeah. The funny thing is when I'm thinking about the nervousness to excitedness, like when my husband wants me to go on like a roller coaster that maybe I don't really want to go on and I get nervous and I'm like nervous and then I can change that to excitement
Yeah, exactly.
because I know he loves to go on the roller coasters and sometimes I'm like
Yeah,
this one might be a little bit too much for me. But maybe next time I'll think about that and I'll be like, okay, I know that I'll be okay. I can see what the roller coaster does. I can visualize myself going on the roller coaster and having fun.
exactly. Yeah,
um,
and to what you said, also professional players get nervous. That's right. I mean, there's a video Ronaldo say, "I get nervous all the time because I care." But I don't let the
mm-hmm,
nervousness affect how I play. I'm just gonna switch
mm-hmm.
mentally and say, I'm gonna use this and crush it.
Definitely something to be able to build off of and be able to go into it, and it helps with all aspects of life, not just with sports. I mean, if you're nervous for a job interview in the future, you learn something like this and you master that skill, then when you're going into a job interview or just anything that you care about that you get nervous about, you can learn how to channel it and funnel it into a positive versus just a crippling, nervousness or fear or whatever it may be. Learning how to work through that is always good.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else for you. I mean, this has been absolutely a ton of great information. And anybody that is interested, definitely reach out to Valentino on Instagram or through his website. Links will be in the show notes. But do you have anything else? I mean, I've already asked you, I think, a couple of times, but do you have anything else? I mean, you seem like a wealth of knowledge, but it's like, trade secrets. You want to keep some stuff
Trade
for
secret.
your clients. So, yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share before we go?
No, nothing else. Like just don't be scared of making mistakes is normal. Take more risks. If you're afraid to do
Mm-hmm.
things, something, just do it and do it anyway. Once you realize that the worst that can happen is not that serious, you're not gonna die, nothing
Mm-hmm.
bad is gonna happen, and
Yeah.
you realize that you can do it again. And when you do that, when you take that risk, and you eventually score that goal, you realize how much more capable you are than you think.
Yeah, definitely. You always have to try it, because you never know what could happen. So if you never try it, you'll never know what could or could not happen. So you got to definitely at least try it. So, like me going on that roller coaster, I may have fun or I may throw up. I don't know. We'll find out.
Exactly.
Yeah, this has been really fun. And this is so typical of me because for people that know me, I love cheesy, corny Hallmark movies. My mom got me hooked on them. But there was a movie that was like, if there was one that was like, if you can't, sometimes you just have to do it scared. And so,
Yeah.
and then once you do it, it's really not that bad.
No.
So, yeah, anyway, that's great advice. But thank you so much for coming on today. Again, I'll have Valentino's information in the show notes if you want to reach out to him. This has been a great wealth of knowledge, and I've loved interviewing you. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for kicking it with me, and have a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at kickitwithkatie podcast _ between all the words. You can reach out to me with questions at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. I also have a feature with SpeakPipe where you can leave me your own voicemail message if you want to be featured on the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.